Hello, I am your Kingdom Spiritual Transformational and Life Purpose Life Coach and Mentor, Latricia Booker, and we are here to be empowered, to heal, get delivered, and get free. We know who we are. We elevate our minds and our spirits and raise and expand our consciousness to ultimately walk in our true divine purpose and power, and it is the truth of who God has created us to be. Kingdom people, we are history makers, we are world changers, we are dream successors, we are wealth generators, we are manifestors, we are curse breakers, and we most definitely are transformers. More than meets the eye. Yeah, kingdom people, we are. Kingdom people, thank you all so very much for viewing my videos. Thank you for all your likes, subscribes, shares, your comments, and your feedback, for all the financial contributions to my channel, and for all the seeds that you so generously sow into me and my ministry. Kingdom people, thank you for all of your bookings and for all of your purchases. Kingdom people, thank you for everything that you do. I really appreciate you all, kingdom people. Thank you. And so, kingdom people, I am on location. And I am the chain breaker. Let's go ahead and break these chains, kingdom people. Come on. Let me upgrade you. Let me activate you. Let me elevate you, kingdom people. Come on. So, kingdom people, God has not forgotten about you. He has not forgotten about you. And so, this morning, it was strongly on my mind and on my spirit, how, there are so many people who are just kind of down and out, and not just people just not living their best life. And what I mean by that is, this spirit that's over this earth, the spirit of depression. And the thing is, kingdom people, I've spoken about this before, but it was just really on my spirit to speak on it. And it's like you have to be mindful of what you're allowing into your life. You got to be mindful of what you're doing. You got to be mindful of how you're moving. You got to be mindful of what's around you. And overall, it's because God has not forgotten about you. So here's the thing, kingdom people. God had given me this message some time ago. And what happened was, I was looking through, he just moved on my spirit to look through my notes, because he was giving me a message. And so as I'm going through, he showed me this message. God has not forgotten. God has not forgotten. God has not forgotten about you. He did not forget about you, kingdom people. And so, as I read the scriptures, that I had with these notes that he had given me from when he originally gave me this message, he took me back to what we were speaking about this morning, and I'm going to come back to that. But let me read these scriptures first concerning God has not forgot. God has not forgot, kingdom people, and God has not forgotten about you. Exodus 23:22 says, if you listen carefully to what he says and do all that I say, I will be an enemy to your enemies and will oppose those who oppose you. And so, kingdom people, here God is saying, when you do what he's telling you to do, when you follow his lead, when he instructs you and you're doing what he's instructing you to do, he said, listen, he got you. He gonna oppose any enemy of yours. He gonna take care of them. Don't you worry about that. He has not forgotten about you. Psalm 105:8 says, he has remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations. Kingdom people, God knows what his covenant is with you. He remembers it. He promised it to 1,000 generations, which includes us, kingdom people. God said he has not forgotten about you. Ezekiel 16:20 says, nevertheless, I will remember my covenant with you in the days of your youth, and I will establish an everlasting covenant with you. Everlasting covenant with you. He established it in your youth. He established a covenant with you in your youth. He remembers it. He remembers it, and it's an everlasting covenant. Kingdom people, God has not forgotten about you. Keep this in mind. Keep these scriptures in mind as I go forth. Going back to this morning, what was on me is this. It's so many people that are depressed. It stemmed from, I was listening to something that kind of spoke on it. Well, it wasn't speaking about it, but it came up. And during what this young lady was saying, I kind of started speaking ahead of her, because it's almost like I didn't necessarily know where she was going, but sometimes I listen to things and I just add my own finishings on it, or so to speak, or I may start talking with the person, or just having my own take, in correlation to what's being said. And so, or sometimes I don't want to say in opposition, but just having a different point of view. Not in a mean or nasty way, just me. That's just how I learn, and how I incorporate things, and how I synthesize things, and how I filter out things. Not in a nasty way. If I don't agree with something, I might have a different perspective on something. I just might state my disposition, even if it's just within myself while listening to another. I don't always state it. I just sometimes know it. Sometimes not necessarily, or just think about it. But point is, I was speaking along with this young lady, somewhat going ahead of her, and then she began to say what I had just said. And what it revolved around is the spirit of depression. And so a couple of days ago, when I woke up, there was a feeling, and it was real off. And I was just like, what? Because that feeling was not me. And I knew that. I've experienced this quite a few times. I've shared this here, how sometimes that's not even you. That's not even what you're feeling. Those not your feelings. It could be people around you. You're just picking up on it because you may be sensitive to that. But it could also be someone projecting that on you. And sometimes when they're projecting on you is, because they're in that energy. And if they're thinking on you, you can pick up on that. But sometimes people are literally trying to project fear, depression, and all those things on you. And you can pick up on that. But the good thing is when you know yourself and that's not the kind of energy you're in, you're not on that, it's not yours. So this morning, when the young lady was speaking, it brought back to mind what I had just experienced a couple of days ago. And, she was just kind of saying that's not yours, which I already had knew. So, it's a thing for me where it's really kind of troubling to my spirit. Reason being, Kingdom people, I understand that we have an enemy. Listen, the enemy, the scriptures say, your adversary, the devil, walks this earth like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Scripture also tells us he comes to kill, steal, and destroy. What does that mean, Kingdom people? He want to destroy your life. He don't want you to have what God intended for you. He don't want that for you. So he'll do everything he can to keep you from having that. And that's even being depressed. That includes even being depressed. And so what's happening, Kingdom people, there are many people that are depressed, and it has a lot to do with, see, when you're out here clowning and acting a fool, you're going to get depressed. You're going to feel depressed. That's the reward for that. It may seemingly feel good in the morning when you're acting a fool, or you're thinking you're causing harm to somebody or something like that, but the end result is always depressed. Understand, Kingdom people that act out like that don't feel good inside. They don't feel good about themselves. They don't like their lives. They're depressed. And so that's where, when they're coming at you, Kingdom people, that's where they're projecting what they're feeling onto you. They want you to feel that way. So, I laid here, I was laying down and I was listening to this young lady. And so now I'm in my own, thing too, because it's something that constantly comes up. And it's something that I'm clearly very much so aware of. And so here's the thing, Kingdom people. I often think back to myself, and I did so at this time. And I can remember being actually, years ago, mildly depressed, but didn't even know that's what it was. But I kept pushing. I was pushing through whatever was going on. There was some real crazy stuff going on at the time. I was dealing with spiritual warfare and satanic attacks, and I knew I knew it to be just that, but didn't necessarily know how to deal with them. I was learning at the time. And what I did do was I trusted God, and I pushed through. And like I said, I was mildly depressed, and at the time I just didn't know it. But my push through, I just kept pushing through. In other words, I wasn't going to lay under and lay down and succumb to what was happening in my life. And a lot of that did have to do with Kingdom people. I always had pushed through. It didn't matter what was going on in my life. I've always been determined to push through, to get to the other side. At one point in time, I didn't even know what that was. But it was just always in me to push through. I've never been one to just give up and just settle in something that's not where I want to be, that doesn't serve me, before I even understood that to be what it was. So sometime a few years ago, where it's been about several years, it's been about 7 years now, when I made a transition from a situation I was in. You know, I was broken, you know, and I had to heal. You know, I was in a situation with an individual that had come to a place where they were literally trying to destroy me. They were literally trying to, it was just bad, put it like that, Kingdom people. And I had to work my way out of it. And during that time, you know, I would say I had some form of depression. I was hurt, I was wounded, but I worked through it. I pushed through it. I worked to get through the other side, Kingdom people. I'm saying all that to say I didn't succumb to the depression. And what had happened, what I had experienced, it was intended to do just that. It was intended to break me down to nothing, to where I would never get up again. And so, Kingdom people, like I said, listen, it was horrible. It was horrible. Listen, I'm not gonna make it up or make light of it. It was horrible, but I've overcome it, because I did the work. I healed through it. And see, what it is, Kingdom people, it was something that I was pushing toward. And part of what I knew is that God had not forgotten about me. And because God had not forgotten about me, and my thing, Kingdom people, is that God was always with me, and I knew it. And he's who I always went to for help. He got me through that. He would speak to me in the midst of that and help me through that. Even in going through all that, he was showing me things and revealing things to me that was hurtful, but I needed to see it. You know, I needed to be made aware. That's why sometimes things do hurt. But at the same time, God wants you to see what it is so you can work through it. And this is ultimately the thing. God has not forgotten about you. So what, you going through that? So what, this is happening to you? God has not forgotten about you, and neither can you. You have to push through it. And he says here in Exodus 23 and 22, when you do what he tell you to do, he said he will be an enemy to your enemies, and he will oppose those that oppose you. So yeah, you might go through some things, but he's with you. Just do what he's telling you to do. God has not forgotten about you. He remembers his covenant with you. So just because you're going through, Kingdom people, don't mean that God is not with you, that God has forgotten about you. In fact, everything that you go through is designed to push you. Think about this, Kingdom people. As people are doing what they're doing, well, for those who this apply, which is kind of what I'm speaking on, you don't succumb under what's happening to you. You push through. So for those of you who push through, and for those of you who are struggling with that, I'm encouraging you to push through. When you push through, what's happening, Kingdom people, your enemies are coming at you to stop you, block you, all those things. But that makes you have to push through. So what happens when you push through? You overcome, you succeed, you push past those barriers, you push past that which was trying to stop you, or just push yourself forward, period. So when your enemies are coming against you, your natural instinct should be to push through. They're literally pushing you up. That I was reminded of this morning. That's what part of what God means when he said he will make your enemies your footstool. Because he says he will be their enemy. So if you do what he's telling you to do, don't worry about them. You just keep pushing through what they're trying to throw at you. Because he's their enemy, since they chose to be your enemy. He is opposing them. So you just keep pushing through. So I shared all that to say, I know what it's like to be under, so to speak. but you don't have to stay under. I know what it's like to not have the best day or to be going through something horrible. I know what it's like to be in spiritual warfare. I know it all too well. I've been dealing with witches and warlocks all my life, and then found out some that I didn't even know was some that was closer, look, too close for comfort, so to speak, were that too. But I was even able to push through all of them, even while not even knowing what was really going on until later. And when all that came out, and it's still coming out, it's just like, whoa. But it is what it is. But what I have to always keep in mind is that God was always with me. He always knew what was going on. But I always was just pushing through. Even without knowing what was going on, I was just pushing through. And so, kingdom people, you have to push through, because God has not forgotten about you. God has not forgotten about you. So listen, back to this depression thing, or just feeling sad. You cannot succumb to it. You cannot succumb to that energy around you. Even scripture even tells us to think on those things that are good. Think on those things that are pure, that are above. Kingdom people, you can't focus your attention on your bad situation. Yes, identify what it is so you can push through it. So you can come up with a strategy or a plan, of course, with God's help, to get past that, to get to another place, to get out of whatever it is. But do not succumb to the depression, because that's exactly what the enemy wants. He wants you to lay down and just give up in it, kingdom people. And you can't. You can't forget about you. You can't forget about the covenant. God has not forgotten about you. He has not forgotten about your covenant. He needs you to push through. He needs you to persevere. Listen, I understand when you get tired. I understand that sometimes it's too much. I promise you, kingdom people, even then, push through. Now, don't get me wrong. Rest yourself. Don't overexhaust yourself. Don't overdo it. But when you're under, or when, I don't want to keep using the word under, but when you're experiencing these attacks and, these things are happening to you, you may feel some of the effects of it. So you may not be at your best, but still be at your best. In other words, pace yourself. But don't stop. Don't give in. Keep pushing. God has not forgotten about you, kingdom people. You have to keep pushing. And you have to keep your mind on, look towards what you want. Look towards what the outcome is you want to be. That will help you every day get up, look past the depression that's trying to come over you, because you're looking forward to something. Look forward to the fact that God has not forgotten about you. So if God has not forgotten about you, you can't just lay down in what the enemy is trying to do to you, even when he's trying to do it to you through people. Because you have to understand this too, kingdom people. He uses those who have already succumbed to him, who he has already gained control over. I was thinking about this morning too, because when people want to, project that kind of, pain on you and depression and want you anxious and want you to not feel like you can keep on, when people is trying to project those kind of feelings on you, for some time, I was like, who thinks like that? Because I don't think like that. I don't wish those kind of things on people. I'm actually the opposite. I want to help people elevate and be their best self. Yes, I have a thing with the fact that I know that what the devil out here trying to do to people. So I'm opposed to what the enemy is trying to do. And I'm one who wants to help people to come up out of that and not, like I said, succumb to that. And so for some time, I just couldn't understand who thinks like that. But then this morning I had a thought, and I'm like, who would want someone to feel like that? And immediately it came to me like someone who feels like that. So you understand that goes back to projection. People want you to feel the way they feel. See, just about pretty much everybody has felt some form of pain, sadness, or whatever, some of those things that don't feel good. And so when people are out to get you, for whatever reason, they're jealous, the enemy that just took them over and they've become your enemy. They want you to feel your worst, because feeling your worst will keep you from being your best. See, they want you to feel your worst, because feeling your worst they want you to think that God is not with you. God forgot about you. You might as well lay down and die and forget about it. But that's not true, kingdom people. God is with you. He just needs you to keep pushing through and know that he's with you. And let him instruct you, of course. And so, kingdom people know how, they know, everybody just about knows those feelings. And I say just about because I can't say for certain everybody. I can't say that because I don't know if every single person have ever felt pain and sadness. I believe there can be some exceptions to that. So anyhow, just the thing, because they know that feeling, they know it doesn't feel good. And so they know how they feel when they be in those feelings, those feelings of depression and sadness and anxiety and not believing and doubting and all those things. So that's why they want to project them on you, because if they can get you to feel those feelings, their hope, and then it's, I'm saying they, but overall it's the enemy and those that he used, their hope is that you will just say forget about it, because it's as if God has forgotten about you. So what you pushing for? If you feeling like this, if you feeling depressed, then God ain't with you. That's not true. But it's up to you to not be depressed. It's up to you to not be anxious. And I'm not saying you don't go through these periods, but what you want to do is work yourself to a point where you're not feeling none of those feelings at all. And how do you do that, kingdom people? You cultivate happiness in you. You cultivate joy. You nurture that within yourself. Listen, kingdom people, I don't want to feel sad and bad and depressed. So I don't do the things that cause me to feel that way. I don't sit around thinking about the worst and thinking about, oh, my life is this, that, and the other. And here's the thing, kingdom people, if there's something going on in your life that you're not pleased with and happy with, do something about it. Don't be depressed about it. Do something about it to get yourself in a better situation. Push on through, knowing that God has not forgotten about you, knowing that he's with you. In fact, he'll give you instructions to help you continue. And this is the thing, kingdom people, you're going to be pushing through and being instructed by God all your life as long as you're on this journey. So listen, it's very wise to just understand this to be something natural that's just part of the journey, so it won't feel so overwhelming. Now, I get when you're not there yet, but I'm pointing that out to say work to get there, because that can be very helpful for you. That it can, it eases the pressure, so to speak, even if things are going on, even when things are going on. And understand this too, kingdom people. When you press through these things, when you keep pressing through these things, and I know I've said this before, but I have to say this: you're passing tests. The enemy works that hard at you because he don't want you to pass the test. He don't want you to pass the test, so he going through everything he can because he don't want you to press through. He trying to stop you. Don't stop. God has not forgotten about you. Don't you want to get to that other end? It's really there. But the devil gonna work overtime because that's what he do. It was on me because yesterday I experienced some things where that devil was mad and he was letting it be known. He was showing himself. You know how some people be acting and behaving towards you with anger, and they want you to know. What that is, what I was experiencing is that what the tricks ain't been working. What the enemy has been trying to do ain't working. They've been trying to project, trying to do all this, do all that to make, and none of it is working, kingdom people, because when you know who you are and you understand these things, you don't succumb to them. And again, when you build yourself up and you decide, you have to make a decision to be at peace, to be happy no matter what's going on. See, depression can be a mindset. It could be the way you're looking at things. Yeah, things happen in life. Okay, that don't mean you have to be depressed. That means that you got some work to do. That means you got some changing to do. And yes, every force in hell gonna come against you when you try to move forward, when you try to do that forward progression, because that's just what the devil do. It's there to stop you, but God's intent for it is to push you. Because anytime something trying to stop you, think about this. This you trying to move forward, something coming to try to stop you. What that make you do? Push up against it to push forward. So it really can be helpful for you. It's supposed to be helpful for you. What the devil mean for your bad, God mean for your good, in other words. But you have to push through. And yes, you have to push through depression. We ain't got time for no depression. God is blessing. Don't let the enemy have you concerned about your situation. And I'm not negating if you in a not so nice situation. What I am saying, understand God has not forgotten about you. Understand that he's there for you. He's there with you. He's there to instruct you, but you have to allow him to. You got to come up out of that depression. I'm reminded of David when he lost his son because of his own doing, and he was depressed. He had to shake himself up out of that and get back to pushing on, living on. He couldn't just succumb to that and just stay depressed. You understand what I'm saying, Kingdom people? Even when you're grieving something legitimately, like a death, that's understandable. But if your life or, even a divorce I'm hearing or something like that, just anything, the loss of a relationship, those kind of things can affect you. But it's a period of time that you stay there, and I can't say what that is. It's different for everybody. But what you want to do is get to a point where you're pressing on. You don't want to just succumb to that energy, to that not so good state. Some things will stick with you forever, but it's the way you handle it and carry it. And what I mean by that is when we lose some people, that don't go away. You know what I'm saying? For certain, depending on who it is and how close you were to them, it don't go away. But you can push through the pain, the deeper pain of that, and learn how to just still move forward with your life. It's the same thing with any circumstances going on in your life, Kingdom people. And I don't know, this just keep coming over me. Some of you may be in bad living situations. And what I mean by that is who you live with in your house. I don't know. But that's literally what's so strong on my spirit. And maybe you feel like it's not much you can do to feel better because of the situation. That's understandable. But what I'm telling you is it is something you can do about it. You can allow God to lead you. You can pray about it, allow him to lead you, show you what to do, and you keep a positive attitude in spite of what you see. And yes, you could be around somebody in that house that's on purpose trying to keep you down. So you got to understand the devil trying to keep you down and keep you depressed and not feeling your best on purpose. So when you detect that, you have to strategize yourself to learn how to move, so that if they see you happy and they feel like you're good, they have to do something to knock that down. Don't be so obviously happy. You know what I'm saying? But be happy within your spirit and do the work within yourself. Do the work within your mind. Don't let them know what you're thinking. Don't let them know what you're feeling. In other words, sometimes you got to play the role. It's kind of like when people are in domestic violence situation, and particularly for women, and maybe you're afraid of that man for good reason. And so you kind of in a position where your life is on the line. So you might have to play the role. You plot on one end and play the role on the other end. Because you can't let him know what you plotting. That you plotting your exit. But you have to play the role over here. You can't let them in on what's going on. But in the midst of doing that and juggling that, you keeping a positive attitude, a positive attitude. You look a positive perspective. You're doing what's necessary to bring yourself out of a not so good situation. You're not looking at it like, oh, poor me. You're doing something about it now. You're pushing through. And you're pushing through knowing that God has not forgotten you. And he's there to help you and assist you and help get you out of that situation. But again, Kingdom people, you just have to know how to play your cards right. You just really do, depending on what situation you're in. But think positive. See the best. Focus on the outcome you want to see. Not what the situation is. Don't focus on it. Not look at it, what it is, enough to know what it is, so you will know, okay, this ain't what I want, and then come to some resolve, to some solutions. to some strategies to remove yourself out of a situation that doesn't make you happy, that's not good for you. But you keep a positive attitude. You don't be depressed about the situation, because let me tell you, being depressed about it ain't gonna get you out of it. It's gonna keep you in there, and that's exactly what the devil wants, because he don't want you to receive what God has for you. He don't want you in covenant with him. Do you know what that means? And he ain't forget. He ain't forget about his covenant with you that he promised you. He ain't forget. Don't you forget. Get up. Get up, kingdom people. For those of you who are struggling with this, like I said, this is like really on my spirit. And I just really felt inclined to think about it. When I came to this message, God has not forgot. God immediately reminded me of what we talked about this morning. And that's what he gave me. Tell my kingdom people, I have not forgotten about them. You know, and period in life, period, he hasn't forgotten about you. But he's saying, get up from that depression. Come to yourself. Come on, push through, push through. And again, I'm not saying that it's easy or everything is peachy and cream. Listen, what would you have to push through if it was all peachy and cream? What? Listen, God never said it was going to be easy, but he said it's worth it. He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Those who come to him must come to him believing that he is. So kingdom people, listen, he will do what he say he gonna do. He will reward you at the end, but you have to do your part. You have to push through, and you have to push through knowing that he has not forgotten about you. Kingdom people, God has not forgotten about you. Push through. Keep pushing. Keep on pushing. Take your breaks. Get some rest. And I'm just reminded of that again, because sometimes when you're under spiritual warfare and somebody coming at you, yeah, that can be heavy. But just take it easy. But keep pushing. Don't give up. Take a break. Get some rest. Do your self-care. Please, by all means, take care of yourself. But keep pushing. Don't ever give up. Ever. Because God has not forgot. God has not forgotten about you. And I'm reminded of Tone's song, God is not forgot. That was my song. That's still my song. Don't listen to it much, but God has not forgot. God has not forgot. God has not forgot. Because if he said that he would do it, then it will come to pass. God has not forgotten about you, no. God has not forgot. And he said a part in there, just keep on believing. God has not forgot. Just keep on believing. God has not forgot. Because if he said that he would do it, then it will come to pass. God has not forgotten about you, no. God has not forgot. It's a part in there where he say, don't be discouraged. God has not forgot. Don't get discouraged. God has not forgot. Because if he said that he would do it, then it will come to pass. God has not forgotten about you, no. God has not forgotten. It's a part that will say, just wait on him. Just wait on him. Just wait on him. They that waited upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They will mount up on their wings as eagles. Just wait on them. God has not forgot. It's a part in there where he said, I have never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. God has not forgotten about you, no. God has not forgotten. Okay, the people, God has not forgot. I'm gonna link the link to that song in the description box. So, okay, the people, I'm gonna let that rest right there. God has not forgot. Don't you forget. Keep pushing. Okay, the people, if you like this video and or if it resonates with you, please just go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Then click on that red subscribe button and subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. Thank you, Kingdom people. Then click on that bell right next to that red subscribe button so that you can get a notification every time I upload a new video, something like this one. Also, if you are interested in any of the services that I presently offer, if you're interested in sowing a seed into me and my ministry, if you would like to check out my podcast show, if you would like to purchase my book, The Girl in the Mirror by Sheila Brooks. Sheila Brooks is my pen name. And any other helpful resources that you may be interested in, you can find all that right down below in the description box. It's okay, the people. I love you all so very much. You all know I don't want to leave you, but I do have to go right now. But I will be back to hold my kingdom people down. Now, kingdom people, with that being said, much love, light, and peace, and many blessings to you all. Above all else, let the Holy Spirit lead you in all things at all times. Kingdom people, we are untouchable, we are unmovable, we are unstoppable, and we are unbreakable. That is my time, kingdom people. Jesus girl is out. Peace.